What's going on, guys? I'm here to make a quick and simple video on how to deal with button mashers and spammers. I didn't think this video was necessary until I started hearing people in like our Facebook community complaining about how button mashers and spammers are ruining the game and basically making it unplayable. Of course they list other things, but this is one of the main things that they talk about. So in my head, I'm thinking, well, that's crazy. It's so many easy ways to deal with spammers and button mashers. I might as well go ahead and make a video about it. So let's get started. Alright, the first method of dealing with button mashers and spammers is the new mechanic, the break blow. This move uses 100% of your meter that goes through mid attacks and high attacks, then the startup animation of it. So you really, if you're being hammered with some offensive pressure and you just can't get your opponent off of you, sometimes it's good to throw this move out there, and sometimes it even works in the middle of the opponent's strings. Also, if your opponent blocks it, it gives you frame advantage. So you want to keep that in the back of your mind as well. Take in consideration that the break blow does lose to low attacks, so you always want to keep that in the back of your mind. So it's not just it's just an OP move. It does have some flaws, and you can actually counter the break blow if the opponent knows it's coming, and they can, I believe they might be able to sidestep it. I'm not too sure about that, but the move is not completely OP or anything like that. It's just a move to kind of help get your opponent off of you. Next, we have your crush attacks. Again, I'm trying to make this video a little bit quicker, so I'm going to put the high crush and the low crush attacks together. Every character has basically high and low crushes. The easy way to figure out is to basically go to your settings, have the skill info turned on, and just look at the status of your move. It'll say basically it'll say evades low, evades high. It'll basically let you know if that move goes under lows and highs. So again, I don't want to go over this for too long, but if your character is spamming punch punch punch, most of the time, or if he's spamming kick kick kick, most of the time those attacks are going to be all high attacks. So if they're truly spamming, they're not really thinking about what they're pressing, then doing a high crush move would come in handy at that point. So you want to know what high crush counters moves you have. Again, if your opponent uses too many low attacks, you're getting sick of them going for your ankles. Again, it's the low crushes aren't immediately low crushes, so you have to predict them. But still, you want to know what moves go under or go over low attacks. You want to basically predict what's going to happen when it comes to those type of moves. So again, like every character has them, definitely just go in training mode, figure those out. We're going to go ahead and go on to the next topic. Alright, next we have sidestep attacks, or sidestepping attacks. Of course, this is a 8-way run type game where you can basically move freely, but they do have a sidestep mechanic in the game where if you press up in the special attack or down in the special attack, it will basically sidestep in that direction. Using the actual attack, it will use 50% of your meter, I believe. No, I'm sorry. It will use a quarter. It will use 25% of your meter using a sidestep special attack. So, I believe I talked to someone in our Facebook community saying, I basically said you can spam the attack, and he was like, oh, you can spam the attack. That just shows how broken the game is. No, you can't spam the attack. It does use meter to use this move. So basically you just can't throw it out there willy-nilly. But if you think your opponent's going to use like a lot of linear attacks and you don't really have the answer for it, or you're not sure what he's going to do, sidestepping or sidestepping attacks normally help out in that case. You definitely just want to, like I said, there's so many options to get rid of spamming and button mashing. Sidesteps attacks are one of those go-tos if you're unsure what next move your opponent's going to do. But if you think they're going to use like a linear attack, it's always good to throw it out there. After that, we have the break hold. Many players are saying it breaks up the flow of the game, or that it is a new mechanic for beginner players. That's not entirely true. This is just a mechanic, to go along with the meter system. It uses 50% of your meter, but it does counter high, mids, and low attacks. You can't kill with it though, so that's the thing. It is really just a move to reset the neutral game so you can kind of gather your thoughts of how to get back in the fight. It uses 50% of your meter. Little side tip: if you want to gain meter easily, you want to use a fatal rush. Uh, and that's basically one button. It should be assigned to your L1 button or something like that, or left bumper button or something like that. But yeah, it's not a crazy overpowered move or anything like that. Is a new way, because in Dead or Alive 6 they got rid of the slow recovery mechanic, and that was in all the other games. In other games, whenever you're stunned, you can wiggle the joystick or D-pad and it'll recover from stun a little bit quicker. Well, now you're not able to do that, and this is kind of a way to compensate for that. So be aware if you're being hammered with a whole bunch of moves and you don't know what to do. Using this can really turn the tide of the whole fight. So keep this in your arsenal as well. Alright, finally, this is what I really want to touch on the most. This is really the nitty-gritty of how to deal with spammers and how to deal with button mashers. And this is the reason why I don't think that button mashers are a problem in the game and why they're so easy to deal with. Basically, there are certain moves in this game that are fast and that can interrupt your opponent and basically put them in a stun right off a counter hit. Kasumi, her forward punch attack is pretty fast. I believe it's 16 frames, which is 16 or maybe 15, I'm not really sure, but it is pretty fast, and it puts them in a stun, basically in a stun, critical stun. When they're in critical stun, the only thing they can do is either hold or just keep pressing buttons until the hold is complete. It is basically your job to figure out, are they going to keep pressing buttons, or are they going to basically start spamming hold attacks? You have to basically figure out what your opponent's going to do, but as soon as you learn your opponent, it becomes pretty simple. So I have computers set up where they're going to continuously throw attacks after their critical stun. Alright, and during that, I'm going to basically use all my counter attacks, because once they attack and I hit them during the beginning of animations, they're straight back in that critical stun. So you're basically able to keep putting your opponent in a critical stun continuously, by waiting out until the end of their stun animation. Sometimes they may hold, but again, doing this will make your opponent weary about just continuously pressing buttons. They're going to start blocking after that. So she has, like I said, Kasumi has a few different moves, and you want to go through your move set and just put the training settings to always on counter, and basically figure out what attacks are fast and that can put your opponent in a critical stun. That's all you have to do. Go to settings, change the where computer is always set to counter hits, and just go through your moveset. See what move puts your opponent in a critical stun. Once you do that, all you have to do is basically use those moves to basically keep your opponent in a critical stun. And if they start spamming hold attacks, that's even better. Now you have the opportunity to do some real damage. That's one thing that I actually enjoy about this game, is that it really basically gives everyone the same options to basically get out of stuff, and you can punish things really hard. So if your opponent's doing continuously doing hold attacks, you can do one of your strongest grabs, and that grab is normally gonna go up like 30 to 40% in damage, just because you did a critical grab. I believe that's what it's called. There's so many things to get around spammers and button mashers. You got your high counters, you got your break blows, you got your low crushers, you got your sidestep attacks, you got your break holds, and you basically have your counter attacks. I know this is a lot to digest, but the only thing you need to figure out is your counter moves that puts your opponent in a stun state. Then after that, mixing up those moves in your offense to throw off your opponent. Once they start holding, that's when you can grab and do tons of damage. So just mixing up your offensive stun attacks and then working in grabs to counter their counter holds. So if this video helps, that's good. If it didn't, sorry. Just want to help out as much as I could in the community. But if you made it this far, thanks again for watching, and take care.